good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Today, we are going to talk about data security with Microsoft Fabric OneLake. Yeah, security is kind of a topic which we need to discuss a lot more in detail because that's really an important factor in today's world. So before going into in-depth, a little bit introduction about myself. I'm Mohammed Adnan. I'm the founder of Take 18, and I'm a Microsoft MVP and MCT as well. Today, I have like 17 plus of years of experience in various Microsoft technologies, and recently I'm more focused on Power Platform, Power BI, and Microsoft Fabric. I'm a certified Microsoft certified trainer and MVP, and I have also achieved some of the Microsoft certifications for that. And I have my own YouTube channel as well, which is Take 18, which mainly focused on Power BI, Power Platform, and Fabric. So if you come across to my channel, you can visit that and check for some amazing content over there. And if you want to reach out to me via LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, mostly I will be active on LinkedIn and Twitter. So it's just Mohammed Adnan T on that. All right. So as the topic is only for security for today, so there is no agenda for that, even though we are going to cover one by one. So we'll just start with the basics. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Because some of them may not be aware of that. So Microsoft Fabric is one of the product from Microsoft, which is a unified data platform for the era of AI. So it contains many workloads here like data factory, Synapse engineering, Synapse data science, Synapse data warehousing, Synapse real-time analytics, Power BI, and data activator. So all of these things called as a workloads, and it's actually backed by one data lake storage, which is OneLake. And Microsoft has recently introduced Copilot for each and every layer, and they are still keep on adding up multiple areas on that. So that's the reason they have mentioned about for the era of AI, which is right now we are in the era of AI. And all this security is actually backed by Purview, which is Microsoft security part. And out of this fabric, the beauty of this is we have a unified architecture, we have a unified experience, we have unified governance, and also we have unified business model on that. So the beauty of fabric is like we are going to talk about in the next slide, which is we can collaborate with all these people for data factory, data engineers, and data scientists into one single environment here. So data factory is actually the data integration combining of the Power Query engine and the scale of Azure Data Factory to move and transform the data. And what about this data engineering side? So Synapse data engineering is actually a part of Synapse itself, and they have brought up all these things together into one single unified environment, which is the Microsoft Fabric. So data engineering with Spark platform for data transformation at scale. If you want to do it using a big data transformation, then you have a Synapse data engineering side on that. If you want to keep data warehousing as the industry-leading SQL performance to scale and support your large amount of the data, and you want to maintain your data warehouse, in that case, data warehouse is your choice for that. And when it comes to machine learning, data science kind of practice, if you want to do that, then you have the option, you can use the data science options inside to the Fabric. As we are into this IoT era and we are getting lots of devices from the remote devices, we are getting sensor informations, all these things. So if you want to maintain a kind of real-time analytics, real-time intelligence inside the Fabric, you can also make use of that, which is backed by Azure Data Explorer and Kusto Query database on that. And again, for the business analytics side, there is no need to mention about that. Power BI is a leading platform in the Gartner research as well. So we can use the Fabric in order to, we can use the business intelligence inside our organizations. And the other product which recently introduced by Microsoft is Data Activator. This is actually a part of Synapse Data Real-Time Intelligence with a combination of real-time analytics plus Data Activator. So what does the Data Activator does is it can just trigger you and alert for that for the real-time things which is happening inside to your data. And if you want to take any kind of action, you can also do it from that itself. So that's a really cool part of that. So all these things has to be secure, right? So if you are going to access within the environment or you are going to access outside the environment, everything has to be secure because data is the main source of every organization. So all these things actually backed by one single location, which is OneLake. So what is actually the OneLake is like? OneLake is basically one drive for the data. Like we are using a Gmail, we have a G Drive, we have a Hotmail. If you're using that, we are using Office 365. Then we have a OneDrive for that. So what actually we do in OneDrive? We store all kind of our files inside to the OneDrive. We can create multiple folders, and we can store all our files similar to that. Similar to that, we have it here in Fabric for the data. So OneLake is basically the OneDrive for the data here. So we can keep all our data inside to the Fabric. We can structure that based on our need. We can create multiple workspaces. We can create multiple folders inside to that. And from there, we can share to the specific peoples to whom we need to share the data. And single source of the data, they can use it for entire organizations. That's one of the beauty of Microsoft OneLake. And we can use a single one copy, and we can use for multiple workloads here. If data engineers want to use the data, then they can use that. If data science people wants to use that, they can use that. If data Power BI state people want to use that, then of course they can use that information. So this is all about Microsoft Fabric and OneLake here. So now, what is the lakehouse here? So lakehouse is actually the combination of data lake and as well as data warehouse here. So it can scalable and distributed file storage, and we can have a flexible schema on read on semantics, and we can also store big data information on that, and you can process using Spark the big data on that. And the beauty of that is also we can use the SQL endpoints inside to that, so that we can query using the SQL endpoints, and we can also have a relational data model built on that, and also we can build Power BI report out of it. So this is all about the lakehouse here. So whatever the data which you are going to use it inside to the OneLake is actually stored into the lakehouse format, and inside of the lakehouse we have storing the information in the Delta Lake Parquet file format. So that's a default storage locations on that. That's the format file which is being stored on the OneLake. So now, when it comes to security in Fabric, so what are the things which we have at the moment? So it's actually always on. It's basically every interaction with the Fabric is encrypted by default and authenticated using Microsoft Entra ID. And all communications between Fabric experience travels through Microsoft Backbone Internet, and data is at rest, automatically stored encrypted. So what does it mean by data is in rest? So if you are moving a data from one place to another place, like into Fabric, for example, from Snowflake to Fabric, then you are just moving your batch of the data inside to the Fabric. So that is data at rest now. So when it comes to real-time analytics, it's actually called as data in transit or data is in motion, because we keep on changing the data. And if you want to store that data, you can also store that, and then you can do the transformation or reporting out of it. You can also make use of that. And to regulate this access and Fabric, you can add extra security features such as private links. You can also use Entra conditional access on that. Fabric also connects to data protected by firewall or a private network using trusted access. And another important factor is the compliance. So Fabric has data sovereignty out of the box with multi-geo capacities. Fabric also supports wide range of compliance standard. Like we have a GDPR for the European standards, and I think other also we have for US. So these things sometimes is actually covered in Microsoft Fabric. So we can directly use it for our organizations in order to apply those compliance aspects. And governance, Fabric comes with a set of governance tools, such as we can look for the data lineage from where the data is flowing from one direction to another direction. And we can also have information protection labels for each and every item on that, so that if you want to export the data outside of the Fabric, then also we can have follow information on that. And we can also integrate with Microsoft Purview in order to get more insights out of our data security. And it's not a kind of we have a fixed kind of configuration, so it can give us the flexibility that we can configure based on our company policy here. That's also one of the beauty here. And evolving, Microsoft is constantly improving Fabric security by adding new features and controls day by day, weekly by weekly. So they keep on upgrading the Microsoft Fabric experience so that people can have a better data security and can have a smooth transactions for their entire organizations. Now, when it comes to the architecture here, so in the image you can see it on the right side, which is Fabric. We have a Microsoft Fabric workspace permission, we have Fabric item permission, and then inside of the item we have a lakehouse. We can create warehouse, we can create Power BI semantic model, and inside of that we can create granular engine level permission. So we are going to talk about that everything in detail. So all these things actually backed by OneLake itself. So even though this contains only three layers of security, but in reality is actually we have a more levels of security inside of that. If you ask me about what is that, is basically if you're logging it through your Entra ID, Office 365 ID, inside to your Power BI login or Fabric login, then it's also actually kind of security. If you have a username and password, then only you're going to log into your organization's Fabric environment, right? That's also one of the security additional layer out of it. So which is not covered here because that's a kind of common scenario. Everybody will have that. So Fabric offers a multi-layer offer security. So that's what we discussed here. And then based on that scenario, we can also adopt one by one here. So what does it mean by granular engine level permission? So it means we can also contain object level permission, which is a table level security. We can also contain column level security. We can also cover row level security inside of that. So based on the different engine, we have a different process where we can consume that. So for example, if you are creating a lakehouse or a warehouse, then we can create TCP endpoints. We can create a script for that, and then we can grant or we can revoke the permission from the user so that they can be select permission or they can have deny the permission. Whereas for the Power BI semantic model, if you are creating that, then you have a flexibility to create manage roles and permissions inside of that, so that you can also restrict the data for each and every user on that. All right. So when it comes to organizations, if they are adopting Microsoft Fabric or if you're already working on that, so it contains basically these departments inside to that. We have a data engineers team, we have a data scientist team, we have a data analyst team, and we have a business decision maker team. So all these people can work together to to work on a project, and they can get benefit out of it. So that's one of the beauty of Microsoft Fabric. So as an example scenario, I am going to take about these examples. So let's assume that I am Adnan here. So I am the tenant admin of our environment. And here we have a Alex, who is the data engineer. And we have a Hazel, she is the data science analyst, and also the decision making of Pradeep here. So we have these many peoples here. When it comes to security, the main thing we need to consider is to whom we need to share and how much we need to share. So that's the important factor here. So in order to understand that, what we need to do, we are going to cover one by one. So first we'll talk about the workspace level security. So I just given a kind of table here. So when you're creating a lake house inside to a Fabric workspace, usually it comes with the three different items here. One is the lake house itself. Another, it creates a semantic model, default semantic model. And the third one is SQL analytics endpoints, so that we can query our data using SQL endpoints. So we discussed about that we have a kind of workspace level security, item level security, and then we have a granular engine level security. So the without RBAC, which I mentioned here, is actually role-based access control. So that's actually consists of the engine level security here. So now we are just focusing on, for these people like Adnan, Alex, Hazel, and Pradeep, these are the workspace level access. Adnan is an admin of a workspace, Alex is a member, and Hazel is a contributor, and Pradeep is a viewer of a workspace. And they have just created a workspace. They have just created a lake house inside to that without any engine level access. So that's why without role-based access control. So if it does, then what are the level of access do I have? So generally, if for every item we have it here, we have a view and access level. So people can view the information, view the artifacts here, view the items set to that, and they can able to access or interact with the item. So when it comes to admin can able to view the lake house. You can see it straight to that lake house here. So you can see, let me check here. Yeah, you can see it here. We can also see lake house and access the lake house as well. When it comes to semantic model, admin can able to view and access the semantic model. But when it comes to SQL endpoints, admin can able to view and access that as well. Similarly, as a kind of member, what will happen to that? So being a member also, you can have three of the item, which is a lakehouse, SQL endpoints, and semantic models. They can able to view and they can also access that. And also, if you look into for contributor, for lakehouse and for semantic model and also for SQL endpoint, these three category people like admin, member, and contributor can able to view and access these items. What does it mean actually here? So they can able to, once they log into the Power BI tenant, they can able to view the workspace because they have shared the workspace. and they can also able to see this information inside to their workspace. And they can also open that workspace and look for the information. They can query the data, they can build the Power BI report and do what kind of analysis they want to do. They can also do that inside to the workspace. Now, as Pradeep is the decision maker here, so we have given him the viewer access. So in that case, Pradeep can able to see the lake house inside to the workspace, but he cannot able to access that workspace because of the viewer access. And now when it comes to semantic model, he cannot able to even view the semantic model, and also he cannot able to access that. By logically, it's correct, because if he can't able to see that, then he cannot able to view that information as well. Now, when it comes to SQL endpoints, he can able to view that, and he can able to query the SQL endpoints for the Pradeep here. So in that case, if you are in a situation that you want to share some information to the users, and you want to restrict the information that they had to use only the SQL endpoints, and in that case, you had to give them viewer access to the workspace first, and then you had to give them entire workspace access on that. So then only they can able to just get access to the SQL endpoint, and they can query the information out of it. But they cannot able to build the Power BI out of it because they are just the viewer inside to your workspace. So that's the limitations here. Now, when it comes to with the row level security, with the role-based access control, which I mentioned here with RBAC, so what are the access level they can get inside to a workspace? So, but here, yeah, let me complete this one. So admin can able to view and access the lakehouse, the semantic model, and also the SQL endpoints. Now, when it comes to Alex, the member of the workspace, and he can able to view and access and everything, he can also get that. Similarly for Hazel also, she can able to do everything. Now, when it comes to viewer, Pradeep here with the role-based access control, he can able to view this lakehouse, and he can able to access the lakehouse, but there is a star here. So what does it mean is access as per role-based access control assignment. I'm going to show you how we can do that after this slide. So basically, if you are creating a role-based access control inside to a lakehouse, then you have an option that you can assign a particular role to a particular person of your workspace. In that case, that person can able to view only that particular part of your lakehouse. So that's what you can see as per access by role-based access control. So similarly, he cannot able to view the semantic model and data set, and he cannot able to access that as well. But for the SQL endpoint, yeah, he can able to view and access the SQL endpoints here. This is the only difference here. Now, the thumb rule here is if you are sharing a workspace to any user and they are an admin, member, or contributor of the workspace, then the role-based access control is going to override that. And it's not going to apply to them. It's going to give them full access so that they can able to get the same thing. If you are from a Power BI side, then you might be aware of that. Only viewer can able to access the row level security feature. If they are a member, admin, or a contributor, then row level security is not going to apply into that workspace for that semantic model. Similar case here. So if you have admin, member, or contributor, then they are not able to apply the role-based access control. Only viewer can able to do that. This is the thing which you need to keep in mind if you are sharing this information with your other colleagues here. This is really an important factor because this is the data, and if you are sharing this with open hand to all your public, all your people on your organizations, then you may not be aware that people are a skill level or not. By mistake, they can also chances are there they can use different tools, and they can also chances of deleting or manipulating the data in your organization, which is a risky part on that. So that's the reason I created these slides so that you can clearly understand about that. So role-based access control is not going to apply on admin, member, and contributor of a workspace. All right. So now we'll just talk about, we have another option about creating item level security. But before that, we'll discuss about how we can create a role-based access control here. So when you open a lakehouse inside to a Fabric, then on the top menu, you will get these options. So this is manage OneLake data access is actually a recently introduced one. So that's the reason it is in preview. So if you click on that in your lakehouse, then you will get this message box option here. Turn on data access roles preview. So you're about to turn on OneLake data access role preview for this lakehouse. Using this capability, workspace admin, member, contributor are permitted to change OneLake data access permission at the folder level. That's what I mentioned. So these three people can directly go and even though change the settings, anything. After OneLake data access applies roles to this particular lakehouse, only users with right permission can share the data in this item using external data sharing preview options. Any existing external data shares may stop working on that. So once you click on continue, then you will get this message on the bottom here, manage OneLake data access. By default, Fabric creates a role, which is a default reader. So you can directly assign these roles to your people, or if you want to create a new role, then you can also click on new role here, and then you can name the role, and you can also assign that role to different peoples here. For example, here the default reader on the first image you can see on the top left, which is the default reader. So I have sent these peoples here. As you can see, this is Adnan showing up here, and then Adnan Power BI and Hazel and Alex showing up here. I'm not able to see here Pradeep here because he is the viewer of the workspace. And these three peoples have access read, write, and then read all option here. Except the Hazel doesn't have option to reshare here. And all these things you can see we have showing up here Lakehouse permission here. And also I'm selected here automatically assign user with this lakehouse permission read all. So on the right hand side you can see we have these many permissions here: read, write, reshare, execute, and read all. So read is nothing but it's a kind of SQL endpoint, and read all is basically for using Apache Spark accessing directly to the lakehouse. And write is basically you can write to the lakehouse, and reshare is reshare, execute you can want to execute any query on that, execute any notebook, you can also execute that. So here I just mentioned here, there is no reshare option for a contributor of a workspace. So if you are an admin and member, then you will get everything. But if you are a contributor, then you will not get reshare option. But when it comes to Pradeep here, he can just able to read and view the output of it. So he cannot able to read all, he cannot able to access the lakehouse, he cannot able to write to that, and he cannot able to reshare to that information. And this is a separate role which I created, ORD2021 here. I just created here ORD2021, and there is an option available so that we can select the folders inside to that option. I'm going to show you that after these slides. Or else once you click on this option, which is continue, and then you can click on new role options. Once you click on that, then it's giving me option to give the name of the option, and then it is going to list you all the available folders which you have it inside to the lakehouse. Usually in the lakehouse, we have two things. One is the tables and the folders. So this particular thing is actually talks about the table, talks about the folders, not about the tables here. So the sharing which are giving up here is directly accessing to the lakehouse. So that's the reason we have the role-based access control here. If you want to control through SQL endpoint, which we're going to cover that in the next slides. And for this particular thing, it's actually the folder level access control. So this is actually the output of, if you click on the lakehouse and then show manage permissions, then you will get this screen that these are the people which I have shared this screen, and the information is showing up here. Read, write, reshare, execute, read all, output, view logs for admin. View log is not available for Alex, and reshare is not available for contributor, and only Pradeep has read and view output. For both of them, even though these are all admin, member, contributor, and viewer, even though we have a role-based access control, and this is without the role-based access control, when it comes to manage permission, it looks the same information, permission showing up here on that. But still, if you want to control at granular level, then you can use the role-based access control inside to a lakehouse, which is particularly applied to the folder. I'm just telling it again and again because it's helpful for you that it's not for your tables, it's only for your folders. Now, hope you are clear about this workspace level permission. So now you need to come up here as a fresh mind. This is going to be a little bit different compared to the previous one because right now we are just sharing up your item level share. So before going into that, so let's pause a bit here. So what is the difference between workspace level share and item level share here? So workspace in the sense you're directly assigning the users to the workspace itself. Even though for this demo purpose, I'm just using a person name, but that is not a recommended thing. You have to use your Entra ID in order to assign for that particular workspace or even for a single report sharing on for Fabric. So that's the kind of best practice you need to follow on that. So here we are directly assigning that workspace itself for a particular user. So whatever item is going to come inside to the workspace, they can able to access the workspace and they can able to access inside to everything inside to that. Now, what is item level share is if you want to just share a particular item inside to your workspace, not the entire workspace, in that time this comes into the picture. So the workspace one is directly assigning the workspace, and this time is this can be in a different workspace, but you are just sharing them access to a single item inside to the workspace. So here, when you're opening our lake house here, on the top right, you have option about share. So once you click on that, or you can click on the workspace, and if you mouse over to the lake house, then you will get this option about share. You can also click on that. If you click both the options, then you are going to get the option like we are seeing up here on the right side. So grant people access. People you share this lake house with can open it and its SQL endpoints and read the default data set. To allow them read directly into the lakehouse, grant additional permissions here. We can directly share this lakehouse to any peoples, and we can also tick any other options what we have it here to each and every people here. So in our example, we're going to assign one by one here. So for Pradeep, I'm not going to check any of the box here because I'm just sharing the lakehouse to the Pradeep. That's it. I'm not selecting the read all select SQL endpoint. I'm not selecting read all Apache Spark. I'm not selecting the build reports on semantic model, everything. It's just the blank shell. For Hazel, I'm just going, as she is a data analyst, so I'm going to share the build reports on the semantic model at the last option. For Alex, he's a data engineer, so I'm going to use them read all Apache Spark options. For SQL endpoints, I'm going to share you that information as well because we don't have members here at the moment. So right now, I just use the same structure which we have discussed for the workspace item. But here you can see on the top, we have, for example, I just given myself as an SQL access, which is, you can see read all SQL endpoint and this is read Apache Spark. But technically it says that read data means SQL, read all means Apache Spark. It means read data in the sense it's going to connect to the SQL endpoints, but read all is actually connecting to the Delta tables inside to the lakehouse. That's the difference here. So Adnan is a SQL, and for Alex is Apache, which is the read all, and for Hazel is Power BI semantic model for the build permission, and for Pradeep there is no check on that. Similarly, we have a lakehouse, assume that, and this is without the role-based access control, and we have a 3 items inside to a lakehouse. So what will happen to that? If I have only the SQL permissions, then I can able to view this lakehouse, but I cannot able to access the lakehouse here. All right, and I'll just talk about why it is that. And here I can able to view this semantic model. I can able to view this SQL endpoint, but I cannot able to access the semantic model. I can able to access only the SQL endpoint because I just shared here through SQL endpoints, and that's the reason I can able to generate a query the data inside to the SQL endpoint, not through lakehouse or not through semantic model here. Now, when it comes to Alex here, he can able to view and access the lakehouse because it's a read all. It means they can directly connect to the lakehouse itself. But when it comes to semantic model, they cannot. But when it comes to SQL endpoints, they cannot because we have given Alex only the read all option, which is Apache Spark, so that he can connect directly to the lakehouse. Similarly, as we are given only the build permission for Hazel, she cannot able to access the lakehouse or SQL endpoint. She can directly connect to the semantic model and she can build the report on top of it if she required. Now, when it comes to Pradeep, he can able to only view the information on his OneLake data hub, but he cannot able to access any of this item, not for the lakehouse, not for the semantic model, and not even for the SQL endpoint. Yeah, this is how it works. Because if you are sharing an item outside of, without sharing the workspace, only a particular item inside to your workspace, then you need to keep in mind. Actually, this is a kind of good thing which I can say because you have a more control on your data here. If Hazel wants to build a Power BI report, then just share her build option. If Alex wants to do something on the lakehouse directly, build something on the notebook on Apache Spark, then just share him only the Apache Spark. If Adnan wants to access only the SQL endpoint, then just give him SQL endpoint. If Pradeep doesn't need any access, then just leave him alone. All right. So here, the star which I mentioned here for Adnan is basically Adnan can see only tables, not folders here. Like I mentioned on that, Lakehouse consists of 2 things. One is the tables, another is the folders on that. So when you share this through SQL endpoints, in that case, I can able to see the tables inside to the lakehouse if you directly access the lakehouse, but I cannot able to access the folders inside to that. That's also one of the case here. All right, these are all about without role-based access control. Now, what will happen if we implement the role-based access control even for the item which is directly not shared through a workspace, if it is just shared through item level? In that case, if it is shared through Adnan, then it's also the same story. I can able to access the lakehouse or semantic model. I can just able to access SQL endpoint and only the tables inside the lakehouse. With with rollback access control or without rollback access control, there is no change for a SQL access. Now, when it comes to Apache, I mean, for the read all permission, it's again the same thing. There is no change on that. They can only able to access the lakehouse and do whatever the things they want to do out here. Now, when it comes to build permission, which is for the Hazel, and she has a little bit different option here, which is she can able to view and she can able to access as per role-based access control assignment. So if we are assigning the build permission and also we are giving some access to Hazel inside to your lakehouse, then she can able to access the folders inside to that. And anyways, she can able to build the report and she cannot able to access the SQL endpoints. Now, what will happen for the viewer? Any idea? Let's have a look here. So for the viewer, I mean, for the no check, we are just directly sharing to this role-based access control and there's one which is the lakehouse. Okay, I just want to give it a pause here. The reason is because if you are sharing a lakehouse to any people in your organizations without a workspace access, just an item sharing to that one. And if you're adopting the role-based access control, then you have to again apply those user information into the role-based access control, because there's a kind of additional layer of security which you are doing upon that. So you need to share in both the area. You need to share the item as well as you need to apply on the role-based access control if you have enabled that option into your lakehouse. All right, coming back here. So viewer can, I mean, Pradeep with no option check can able to view, but he can able to access with the role-based access assignment. If you have given access to all the folders inside of the lakehouse, then he can able to view that. But if you are given just only to one specific folder, then also he can only able to view only that particular specific folder. That's the beauty of role-based access control here. If you have time, then I will also show you that as a glimpse here. And here, if we are assigning him access control, then finally he can able to access this also with the SQL endpoints. This is also a change here. I'll just give it a second pause. If you want to take a screenshot, you can also refer to that here. All right. The next level is the granular engine level share here. Now we have a workspace shared. We also shared through item. And now if you further want to control the data, that you want to control the column, that they cannot able to see some information. Like in many companies, if they are an HR based company, they don't want any employees to look for the salary information for other employees. In that case, we can have a column level security. If you want to restrict any data for this manager has to see for only the US, for the US manager, and for the India, they can able to see only for the India data. In that case, we can adopt the role level security for that. For these things, we can use this option, row level security option here. But before going into that one, I just want to highlight one thing. Is like if you want to access through, I mean, if you want to control the row level security for a particular person, in that case, for example, if you want to control it through a fact table itself, then the email ID has to be available on the fact table. And similarly, if we have it something in Power BI, what we usually do in Power BI, we connect the dimension and the fact table. We filter something on the dimension table, and if you want to anything apply the row level security, we just directly adopt on the fact on the dimension table, and the dimension table with the help of relationship can filter the fact table. That's what the usual practice. But that is not going to happen here because we are directly accessing the data itself. We are directly accessing the fact table. So in order to apply the row level security on the fact table, we need to keep that information, for example, the email ID column, also inside to a fact table. If you want to implement this information, then you need to check with your data engineers, those who are bringing up and building your lakehouse or data warehouse, ask them to add also the email ID so that you can control this granular level information inside to a lakehouse or a warehouse here. Alright, these things can be achieved using a SQL endpoint of a lakehouse or also through a warehouse. So in that case, we have a three-step process here. First of all, we need to create a schema because that actually differentiate between our regular files, tables, and also between the security tables here. So I'm just using create a schema, and security is going to create a schema of the security. And then we need to create a function here, which is security dot table value function, and then security predicate, and I'm assigning the email ID as n varchar 50 here. And it's going to return the table with schema binding as return select one as table value function security predicate underscore result, where email ID is equal to the login user ID. That's what the user underscore name is a kind of function. Is basically it will automatically pick the login email ID here. Or the username is equal to manager. So if it's a kind of manager assigned, because manager can able to see multi-level information, to restrict that, we can also use that option here. But for now, we'll just focus on email ID equal to username. So if the user logs in, then they can able to see only that particular data here. And finally, we need to create a security policy because we have created a schema, we have created a security functions. If you want to adopt that policy, that's how the SQL row level security works, then we have to apply the policy inside to the table. So create security policy sales filter, that's the name I have given up here. Add filter predicate security.dbf security predicate email address, which is the column name on dbo.sales here. So on dbo.sale with state equal to on, this is also a mandatory thing, because if you turn off this security feature, then the row level security is not going to apply. So in that case, you need to use on here. So state has to be on. You need to mention the column name, which is the email address here. And also you need to mention the schema with the table name here. So right now I'm just applying the security policy on the table DBO sales inside to a column email address here. So by doing these three things, then whenever user logs in and load the data, it's going to show them only their particular data here. They are not able to view all the information other than that. I'm going to show that as well. So before that, let me share here. Let's take back for a while. All right, let me open up the SQL here. All right, right now I just logged in here to Pradeep here. And if I go to this workspace here, I can able to see only workspace, which we have discussed so far. And here, Pradeep can able to view the information inside to the workspace. I have this Fabric Security 01 and role-based access control here, but not the other thing. So if you want to access other thing, which is item level share, then they need to go on to the OneLake access, which is on the left-hand side, OneLake Data Hub. If they click on that, then they can able to see the information here. Let me just quickly check here. All right, let me stop share and reshare again.
Perfect.
Yeah, can you please add my news link? Yeah, thank you. All right, so now when it comes to Pradeep here, I just logged in here. Pradeep, you can see his email on the top right here, and he can able to access only one workspace, which is a demo one. If I click on that, he can able to see some workspace here. But if we share an item without any workspace access, then they can able to go on OneLake Data Hub here. So if you click on that, then they can see the information what they have shared, and he can able to see the another workspace which is shared the item here. If you click on that, then he can able to access this information here. Now, when I click on the SQL endpoints for that particular lakehouse, and then we need to click on query the data here. So we have option query this data. Once you click on that, I just zoom the window here so that you can easily view the information on that. All right, we have the SQL sales here. It's taking a bit time. Let's wait for more seconds. I actually applied these kind of role security for him. And if I click on new SQL server, and then click here, sales top rows. So select star from, just give me a minute. Select star from dbo.sales and run. Yeah, right now this is open for everything here because you can able to see every data here. But if you restrict the information on that with the role of security state to be on, right now it is off. So that's the reason it's showing up everything. If we turn this on, then we can able to adopt that settings here. I just want to share another window here. So can you please switch now? All right, while it is adding up my screen, so let's talk about some of the limitations which we have it on this Fabric security at the moment. So limitations and latency of that. So if you change a OneLake role-based access control definition, it takes about 5 minutes for OneLake to apply your updated definitions on that. And also, if you change your user group in OneLake role-based access control role, it takes about an hour for OneLake to apply the roles permissions on the updated user group on that. So it's not a kind of real time which is going to change. So there is some latency available at the moment. So you need to keep in mind before doing this kind of changes into your lakehouse. And also the external data sharing preview link feature isn't compatible with this data access roles preview. When you enable this data access roles preview, then any existing external data share may also stop working on that. Now you may think about what will happen to the shortcut. So shortcut actually behaves the same way how we usually do for the folders, and it's actually going to apply this role semantic everything during the access of that particular shortcut. It's not going to do anything before to that. So whenever the user is going to access the shortcut, then it's going to apply this kind of access on that. So maximum number of OneLake role-based access control roles per Fabric item, it can be like 250 roles we can create on that. So more than that is not possible at the moment. And then maximum number of members per OneLake role-based access role is at most like 500 users you can add or a user group inside to OneLake role-based access role here. And maximum number of permissions, how many permissions we can create, is like 500 permission role we can create inside to that. All right, so when it comes to column level security, you need to run this code on your Fabric lakehouse on that. So it's just basically you need to, even though I'm not sharing my screen, who will add that in the future thing, but how we need to specify that we need to deny and then space select on, and then you need to specify your table name, which is dbo.sales, and you need to mention what are the columns you want to deny the access, and you need within the bracket, and then you need to specify to and the email address of your particular person. So for example, if I want to deny Pradeep the unit price and tax amount, which is the amount column inside the sales table, then it has to be deny select on Fabric security lakehouse.dbo.sales table, and then within the bracket unit price comma tax amount to Pradeep at 18.com, for example. So if I execute this one, then whenever Pradeep used to execute this SQL statement, then he may not able to see that information, and he will get an error message saying that he does not have access to unit price and tax amount. So if you want to query that table, then he just need to unspecify that particular column from his query. Generally, it means he cannot able to select star from sales table. He cannot able to do that. He need to specify select this order number column, quantity column, item column from sales amount. Then only can able to get the data, get the result from it. Okay. Is it added here? Yeah, I think it's added here. All right. So this is all the information here. I'll just give it a pause so that you can understand about this is the run code. Where it's a deny select on Fabric sales unit price tax amount to Pradeep here. Similarly, if you want to specify for each and every user, you can specify that. Or if you want to specify for an intra ID, then you can also specify the intra ID on site inside to this one. So this is all about the column level security on that. And this is the limitations what we discussed during that time. So what is the general user recommendation here? So user access recommendation is like limit workspace access to collaborators. So use viewer role and grant read on specific object for read only access. That's a thumb rule here. Unless and until you revoke every permission, if you have given open access to everybody, then it is recommended that you stop the permissions. I mean, you revoke the permission and start giving permission one by one based on the user need here. So grant access to a specific Fabric item, then an object for limited use cases. Use Microsoft Enter ID group when possible here. So it means you need to share only items unless if it is not required. If the many people are if they are kind of domain specific workspace which you have, in that case you can give them access to entire group as a kind of member or contributor, so that they can also use that information and build collaborate together and work together in a project here. Unless and until if there is a kind of specific project which they need a limited access, in that case you need to share only the viewer role for that particular thing, or only item share you need to do that. And these are some of the references why you what you have, so that you can connect and refer to Microsoft documentation on that. You can have a lakehouse sharing works and how the role-based access control works on that, and how role-based security works on that. And yeah, finally, how we can create that. Let me just log into my email ID here, and this is my login ID. And if I open up my workspace here, I have this many workspace access and demo one. This is the final thing which I'd like to show up now. And then here, if I click on Fabric security here with the role access control, and this is the OneLake managed access here. So if I click on this one, only for the first time you will get that pop-up message that you want to continue that or not. This everything will be back kind of thing, right? So after that, it's not going to come up here. So when you click on new role here, then it's actually giving me option here. So I like to give demo on 220624, and this is the what I said. So it's just only for the folders, not for the selected the tables here. So we have all folders, we have a selected folder. If I click on that, then it just give me option about the structure which is available onto the lakehouse. If you look into this left hand side, we have a files order sales, but actually here also you have clear information about that. We have a table, so it actually also gives about the tables here also. That's the beautiful thing. Okay, so it means I revised that. So it's not only giving folder, it's also giving access to the tables as well. So if you want giving the share access to the table, then you can also check these options. But it looks like a folder structure, right? So that's the thing. I thought this is a folder, but in reality, this is a table here. Okay. So here we can see the orders. If I expand that, it's going to show also what is the granular level information which we have. So if you want to specify something like these many years or only for 2019, then you can also give it a name here, underscore 2019. Okay, just need only the numbers here. All right. And then click on save. Once you click on save, then it's created successfully here, and we need to click on assign role here. Select these options, and then here we have a permission. So if you click on read, then by default it will bring the information people from your lakehouse access here. I mean, either lakehouse access or it can be from your workspace access. So that's why it is given the option assigned by lakehouse permission. It has taken up directly from there. But as if I change this option, I don't need the read here. If I select right here, then I don't see Pradeep here, because Pradeep has only limited access. So that's the reason it's not included here. But if I click on reshare, I don't see Hazel here, because Hazel is a contributor and she has limited access and she can't able to access that information here. For execute, everybody can do that. And for read all, you can see everybody can also do that same stuff here. So that's the thing. If I just want to read and then click on save, in that case, we can able to save these many peoples and share this role-based access control to these many peoples here. All right. So let's quickly try it out the other thing which we applied. So this is the role-based access control. And then if I go to this Pradeep here, and let's open up this demo one workspace. I think I added here on this workspace. All right, I'm opening up this lakehouse. As you can see, Pradeep is not able to see the Power BI semantic model. You can able to see lakehouse and SQL. So let's click on the SQL endpoint for this role-based access control and want to see how many information he can see. Okay, he can able to see everything. So let's go back to the workspace and open up another lake house here. Okay, Pradeep is not able to view the information. If I click on this one, which I have saved the SQL query, and if I run this execute here, then it's giving the message select permission was denied on column unit price on object sales. That's because of we have applied the column level security inside to that. And now if I specify the columns which I need and then execute this query for Pradeep here, and let's see what is the result here. And I can able to see only 4 columns, which is for the Pradeep here. And also I'm not able to see the other column. So we have adopted here the row level security as well as the column level security inside to this lake house here. And how I did that, this is actually used here first lake house. If I open up the first lake house, it's the same thing which we have shown on the presentation slides. So if I open up this lake house, I'll also show you one beauty here of this thing. And actually, I need to open up here the endpoints because that only we can able to apply these kind of security features here. All right. Okay, so yeah, this is the thing which we have. We have used the deny select options on a particular thing for Pradeep, Hazel, and Alex, and also we have used the option, what to say, the deny option, the row level security options. Yeah, these are function we created here, the same thing which we have seen on the slides and everything. Now let's have a look into Hazel here. I mean, the Alex here. So if I click on Alex in the demo one, even though it's shared the workspace as a member level access, that's the beauty here, right? Even if it's a member, but it's because of it has kind of information security back on SQL endpoint. So that's the reason it's a restriction on that. It's loading up here and he cannot able to view that. The reason why he cannot able to do that is because of the column level security. So if you execute here SQL query 1 and again if I run the first query, it's actually the same error. Let me zoom in here. Yeah, the select permission denied here. And for the second query, I will also show you one more thing here. And then this has to be this one and run. All right, so here you can able to see only Alex, which is showing up here 5 different records here. Now, if I'm accessing this thing through SQL endpoint, then I'm able to apply this row level security and column level security. What about if I directly jump to the lakehouse for Alex, even though Alex for this workspace is a member? So let's see the result here. This is the table which we adopted that security feature, and it's taking a bit time. If it loads everything, then the security point which we had discussed is only actually applying for SQL endpoint access, not through direct lakehouse access. That's the thing. So the row level security is actually applicable only for the SQL endpoint side, not through the lakehouse endpoint side. If you're directly accessing the data table through lakehouse, then you can able to see every information here. So if they are a viewer, if you're adapting these things, then it's going to win-win situation. You can also control the table level access. You can also control the row level access for the viewer here. That actually we need here, because if these people are a developer, they are going to work on this lakehouse, then it doesn't matter. But for people, those who just want to view the information, we need to restrict those information for them. So that's what we are saying. Another one thing I'd like to highlight here is I just build a report here because Hazel is actually the Power BI report builder. So I just built a report with the role-based access control, everything. And this is the report built from on the login of Hazel. So if I log in to this one, Okay, it's giving some error here. So let's go back here, demo one. Maybe I open up a different report. Yeah. Okay, I just open up here Hazel sales 01. All right, so here you can see we have a 5 records, and the login user which is showing up here on the top here is actually, oh, come on. Hazel here. So I log in here Hazel and log in here Hazel itself. Now if I use the same report, I had this report with Pradeep here. It's the regular share itself. If I go to Power BI here, we can share on this one. I just added here people existing access. I specified that Pradeep to be here. So you can able to view that information on there. So if I log into the Pradeep and open up the same report, the beauty of that is row level, even though there is no row level security applied on this particular Power BI report, it's just applying this row level access control and sharing permission. So now I can able to see the 4 information, and the login user is Pradeep here. Automatically it's applying those security features here. That's another cool thing. All right. So this thing are done, and we adopted these things as well. Yeah, I think we are good with this one. So we are showcased the thing what the security feature you need to keep in mind with the row level security, with the column level security, with item level security, with the workspace level security. Everything we are covered on that. I recommend you to, if you have any clarity on that, please let me know in the comment section of this video so that we can discuss on that particular part. I hope you enjoyed these sessions, and I really thanks for the organizer to organizing this event, and looking forward to collaborate that in future as well.